to character development and stuff, if you've, you know, got this idea of, you know, this character and that character, and you know, you've planned, you've come up with characteristics, you've got life events and stuff that have you know, molded this character. I've found, and I'm pretty sure I've heard this said a lot as well, that, you know, when you're writing characters, they can tend to take on a life of their own and kind of start writing themselves. And I don't know, my gut says that if you are so attached to a specific, you know, way that they're going to go, or who they are, or even, you know, how the story is going to go, then you're stifling your creativity. And
I mean,
yeah,
completely
just
agree with that.
go with it.
And to this, I would like the readers to know that this is the real thing that happened. Okay, this is like 4 o'clock in the morning, my time, Indian Standard Time, and I don't know what that is for your time, but essentially it's very late in the night for her. And we both started talking about aliens,
Yeah,
and that carried on till 8:30 in the morning my time, and we were still not done. We were still not on the same page that aliens could be like this or aliens could be like that. And she had a
mm,
picture in mind, I had a picture in my mind, and we're going blah 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 blah. And we did end up changing each other's perception a little bit
yeah, yeah,
on certain key elements. And then we had Nada come in with her theories about, you know, the exoskeleton and all that. And it's like,
yeah,
didn't consider that, have to
yeah.
consider that. And if you
And
are
that's
writing,
it. You can't have rigid thinking. And it's, you know, that conversation just was wonderful, because it wasn't like, right, you know, we both had these, "Ugh, it's going to be this. It was like, oh, but have you considered it? And then, you know, you'd be like, oh, but then, blah, 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 and it just, yeah, could literally talk for days, weeks, months, non-stop.
exactly. And if what you are essentially telling us is, if you have pre-decided on something about your book, even if it's a non-fiction book, like this is
Hmm.
what my future is going to be. Say, for instance, if it is a non-fiction, or if
Yeah,
it's a fiction, this is what my character's future is going to be.
yep,
What that takes away from the entire narrative is possibilities of what you
exactly.
or your character could be.
Yep,
And as a writer, you should avoid that. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I think in hindsight, I may have had some preparation via the review paper that I co-authored, which was published recently, to do with the evolution of carrying babies and children as a species, you know, from before slings were invented and stuff. And, you know, we had sort of certain ideas and stuff, but if I had written, you know, my parts specific to the carrying side of things, if I had written those with, you know, right, it's going to be like this, then it would not have been the paper that it turned out to be. And just this, yeah, it's the going down the rabbit holes and being like, oh well, yeah, that's another thing. It's I think if you don't like being proved wrong, that can be really difficult, even if it's proving yourself wrong. Whereas with my work in that area, I'm so passionate about the subject that I've literally even said on social media that I hope that people will prove me wrong at some point, you know, in various, hopefully not completely, but, you know, certain parts of it or whatever, you know, they're like, oh, but hang on, had you considered this? And then it encourages growth, you know? having this very much like I must be right and it must be this way. It just there isn't progress, and I think the same can be applied to fiction writing as well. You know, the principles are the same, I think, if that
Yes,
makes any
yes.
sense at all.
It does make sense. And for those of you of like not those of you, she has written a paper called Carrying Human Infants and Evolutionary Heritage, right? And some of the insights that the paper presents, like if you are into uh, looking into the history of sapiens and how we came up to do certain things the way that we do, this paper is pretty amazing. So I'm gonna leave a banner here highlighting the name of the paper. So in
Thank
case
you.
you guys are interested, you should definitely check it out. And like, this is not me kind of doing just a casual statement for my best. It is me being a nerd, me genuinely had my mind blown, and I'm actually like
Oh,
planning to write an article
thank you.
on some of the things that she has presented as well, because that is what ideas are supposed to do. When you read something,
Mm,
they are supposed to tickle your brain in the
yeah.
back, in the front, in the
Hmm.
side.
And
And it
do you
is,
know what I was going to say? It's actually really funny when I think about it, because that's to do with um, a certain side of my work. And funnily enough, actually, I can't believe that I didn't say this before I was asked to co-author the paper. I was very much against, like, I was like, no, I don't want to know about the past. I'm focusing on the here and now. We've deviated too much from the biological norm with all of our inventions. I'm stuck in the here and now. And then my colleague invited me in on it, and I had been having some kind of like, oh, this appears to be too coincidental about, evolution of the species and stuff. Um, so I really went down that rabbit hole and never thought that that would be, anything of interest to me. But then coming to the future, sort of in recent months, that that work has prepared. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit blocked up. That work prepared my mind for then going down a rabbit hole to do with the brain and the body, and how out of sync the evolution of the mind and the body appear to be. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment with that, and just going into a lot of existential crisis and
I mean, same.
evolution
Your
stuff.
your your thought processes are kind of carry into your paper as well, because uh, essentially when you compare the things that you have found out with like all the evidence that you are finding about humans technically turning into cybernetic collectives, because we don't see our phone and we freak out, like we have
Yeah,
a full-on physical response
yep,
telling us how the body, the brain, and the technology, they are on three completely different levels.
yep.
And when you read
We're
a paper
completely
like
out of
yours,
sync. Yep,
it becomes very apparent, and for a brief second you're like, what did I
yep,
just think now? And I
yeah,
think that is what scientific papers are originally supposed to do. They're supposed to
yeah,
question the conventional line of thought, and not what unfortunately scientific papers have mostly been about. Like, I think
yeah,
with science, one problem that I find these days is, back in the day of the Royal British Academy of Sciences, and what they used to do was they used to look at a phenomena, and they used to go, oh, let me investigate it, and then
yeah,
based on my observations, make inferences and draw some conclusion if available,
yeah,
and that was the study.
yeah. And
Nowadays it's like
this
there
was
are
how I,
different
my
tools.
naivety. This is how I entered into this as an independent researcher, you know, my knowledge and experience and all of that, most of it is self-taught. And I had that kind of like, oh, yes, I'm going right into, you know, the community and with professionals and stuff who want to advance knowledge. And it was like, yeah, the complete opposite. And I was just like, we're screwed. We're screwed. If even the sciences, you know, just like, no, let's just calm down. Let's stay where we are. Yeah. But yeah, I've